Hi guys, this is Alex from MasonDesignbuild. Today, again, with so long, we are going to be working on pattern M8182, which is part of McCalls early spring 2021 line, and I'm going to be working on view B. So it is a corset and it has a zipper for view B, and I'm going to be using cotton sateen for this pattern, and it also calls for lawn for the lining, so let's get started. Okay guys, we're going to be working on McCalls M8182. This is from McCalls early spring 2021 line. And again, this is M8182. Let me tell you which pieces we're gonna need. We're gonna need pattern piece number 1. This is a placket and you're gonna cut 4 of fabric and 4 of interfacing. You're gonna cut pattern piece number 2. You're gonna interface 2 and you're gonna cut 2 of lining. You're going to cut pattern piece number 3. This is the middle front. You're going to cut 2. You're going to cut 2 of interfacing and 2 of lining. You're going to cut pattern piece number 4. This is the side front. You're going to cut 2 pieces of fabric, 2 of interfacing and 2 of lining. Pattern piece number 5. This is the center back. You're going to cut 1 on the fold. You're going to cut 1 on interfacing on the fold and cut 1 of lining on the fold. You're going to cut pattern piece number 6. This is the back. You're going to cut 2 of fabric, 2 of interfacing and 2 of lining. You are going to cut pattern piece number 7. This is the middle back. You're going to cut 2 of fabric, 2 of interfacing and 2 of lining. And last but not least, you're going to cut pattern piece number 8, and this is the side back. You're going to cut 2 of fabric, 2 of interfacing and 2 of lining. We have quite a few pieces here that we have to interface and line, most of them, so take your time, make sure that your pattern pieces are set on the grain, and let's get started. Okay guys, we are working on M8182, and if you have gotten to this point of cutting, interfacing, cutting lining, doing notches, you are 70% of the way done. So we're gonna keep going. That just means it's gonna be a good pattern. And I'm also keeping all of my pieces labeled and kind of like in little stacks so I don't mix them up. So we're gonna get piece 1 and piece 2, and we're going to go ahead and right sides facing, notch to notch. You're going to go ahead and pin, right, starting at the notch all the way around, 5/8 inch seam allowance. And once you do that, I want you to press your seams open. Hey, my washi tape, that's telling me that this is the outside, right side, and then you're going to press this open and then you're going to stop stitch. So I went ahead and stitched piece 1 to piece 2, right? Then I also went ahead and finished my seam and pressed it towards piece 2. And then the pattern also asks us to stay stitched from the dot to the notch, so that's where I stay stitched. And remember, stay stitch is 1/8 of an inch away. We just want to make sure that when we attach this to our next piece, piece number 3, that it doesn't stretch. That's why we're doing that. So with right sides together, and I'm doing this in white thread so you can see, because I'm thinking that black, that would not be the case. But go ahead and match your notches, right? Match your notches. And you are perhaps going to have to, not perhaps, you will have to clip your corners because you have some round corners on this piece number 3. But go ahead and keep pinning. Okay guys, so go ahead and stitch 5/8 of an inch at the start. Don't forget to lock in your stitches at the start and at the end. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, now I went ahead and stitched the third piece to the other two. I clipped my round edge, and then I also finished it. And you don't have to finish your seams. I'm doing this because my fabric is shedding a little bit. I went ahead and pressed it towards towards the outside, and then I also went ahead and top stitched. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and grab piece number 4, and with right sides together, we are going to find those notches, and we are going to pin. Of course, always pin at the notch. And don't forget to clip any rounded seams, just because so your pattern lays a little bit more flat. Don't forget to do that. Super important that you do. All right, so now that we have this all pinned, go ahead and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. Go ahead and clip your corners, press your seams, and finish your seams if you want to or not. You don't have to, because remember, we're going to do a lining, but I'm trying to finish mine because my pattern is shedding a little bit, so I'm doing that. So once you do that, we are going to do the same exact, the mirror piece on the other side. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so I went ahead and stitched piece number 4. I did the same thing. I clipped my curves. I pressed my seams towards the back, and then I also finished my seams. Again, not something that you have to do, but I did. And then I went ahead and top stitch. So go ahead and do the same 4 pieces for the mirror side, and we are going to leave those separate. Once we're done with that, we're going to work on the back. So go ahead and do that now for the other 4 front pieces. Okay guys, so we went ahead and stitched the left side, the right side, so we're going to put these aside. And we are going to go ahead and start working on the back. So we're going to grab piece number 5, and we're going to grab both pieces 6, and again with right sides together. We're going to find our notches. Going to pin. I'm going to pin on both sides for this. and find your notches. Okay guys, so go ahead and stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. Go ahead and finish your seams. Press your seams towards the center. And then once you're done, I want you to top stitch 1/4 of an inch away from the seam stitch. Go ahead and do that now. All right, we went ahead and started on the back. So we set piece number 5, we top stitch on both sides. I finished my seams again, my fabric frays a little. So now I'm gonna grab piece 7 and I'm going to stay stitch, and then I'm going to go ahead with right sides together, find the notches on both sides. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to pin. Pin on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and pin piece number 7 on both sides. I'm going to, again, 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start, at the end. Again, press your seams, finish your seams if you want to. You don't really have to because we're gonna be using a lining, but do that for both piece 7 on both sides, and then don't forget to top stitch. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so we went ahead and attached pieces 7. So now we're going to grab piece number 8. And again, right sides together. Match your notches on both sides. And piece number 8 has some curves. So remember that you are going to have to clip those curves. So don't forget to do that. Go ahead and attach both of these pieces on both sides. And this is again for the back. Okay, so again, this is piece number 8. So I went ahead and pinned it, 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget to go ahead and press this open and then top stitch like I have done for my other pieces. Go ahead and do that for both pieces 8 on the back. So right side, left side, go ahead and do that now. Okay guys, so I went ahead and finished the back pieces, and now for the pattern calls for you to attach the front pieces to the back. So we're right sides together. Go ahead and pin the front pieces to your back pieces on both sides, and then we're gonna work on the zipper. So go ahead, 5/8 inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end, and do that for both front pieces. Okay guys, so we went ahead and attached the front to the back, and now we are going to set in our zippers. The pattern calls for probably like a 16-inch zipper, but this is what I suggest. If you are squeamish about shortening your zipper, which yes, it can be an odyssey, I suggest perhaps at this time, go ahead and measure from your 2 large circles on piece number 1, and you go get a zipper that is closest to this length. For myself, it's about like 8 or 7 inches. I went ahead actually and shortened my zipper. So, which it just includes that you would have to take out these stops, cut. I went ahead and go ahead and stitch to create my new stop, and then I also went ahead and just took a lighter to the end of my zipper just so it doesn't fray. So with right sides, you're going to go ahead and pin your zipper. So you're going to have those dots. So pin on one side, pin on the other side. So don't forget to use those notches. Okay, same thing on the other side. You're going to go ahead and with right faces down, right sides down on both sides of the zipper. And if you don't know the length, whatnot, just follow those dots. They are in the pattern for a reason. So you're going to grab your zipper foot. You're going to stitch as close as you can to those teeth. Make sure you can do it, because eventually what's going to happen once we put the lining on this, we're going to flip this over, and that's what's going to be ending of your zipper. So you want to make sure that that you start at the right location. So do that. Now, if it's easier for you, you can always base this by hand just so it doesn't move. I will perhaps do this myself, but go ahead and set your zipper now. After this, we're going to work on our lining. So go ahead and do that now. Okay, so we went ahead and we did our zipper, right? So that's all said and done. So now we're going to work on the lining. So go ahead and put that to the side, and you're gonna grab all of your lining pieces for the front and the back, and you are going to go ahead and stitch them all together. But what I'm showing you, and this is the back lining pieces, right? The 5, the 6, the 7, and the 8. Instead of top stitching, I want you to go ahead and press your seams open. So do that for the back pieces of the lining. Also do that for the front pieces of the lining. Also, something huge to keep in mind in terms of fit. Once you get to this point for your bodice, I want to make sure that you try it. And if you need to adjust, let some of the seams loose, or perhaps take them in a little more, now is the time to do that. So make sure you do that now. Go ahead and do that now. So we went ahead and got all of our front lining pieces ready, and we press our seams open. Same thing for the back ones. So now the pattern asks for us to go ahead and put these right sides together. Find your notches and go ahead and pin notches first, and then go ahead and pin, pin, so go ahead and pin both sides, right side, left side. Go ahead and pin both sides in 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Don't forget the back stitch at the start and at the end. Do that for both sides. Only the sides, not the shoulders, because we now have to go ahead. Once we get this done, we're going to put boning. Go ahead and do that. So we went ahead and attached the front pieces to the back pieces for our lining. We also opened up the seams. So we're going to go ahead and attach boning to this. So I got 5 yards of boning. Seemed quite shocking at the time that we would be using this, but here we go. So cut these the length of your seam, and then you're going to cut these back, because remember, we're going to be stitching 5/8 of an inch. So it asks you to slip the boning back, and you're going to cut this plastic kind of like piece. It almost looks like a zip tie, and you just want to round the corners on this. I'm using my wire cutters, but you could probably even use you can use an old pair of scissors, and perhaps even use a file, because you want to round these corners. You don't want any of this boning to be poking on your skin when you wear this corset. So you definitely want to do that. Once you do that, you're going to slip this back, and you're going to stitch at the top and at the bottom to kind of seal that in. Once you do that, you're going to position these over the seams, and then I want you to stitch all the way around the boning. So you're going to use your zipper foot for that. Definitely you have to pin these in. There's 14 of them, so then I would definitely suggest that you cut them all and then work on each one at a time. Once you do that, we are going to attach the lining to our fabric bodice. So go ahead and do that now, and go slow. Use your zipper foot. Okay guys, we made it through all that boning installation. Wow, that took some time, but here we are. It's all installed. So next step on the pattern is, so go ahead and put your lining to your fabric, right sides together. And I put in some yellow pins so you can see where you need to stitch. It's going to be 5/8 inch seam allowance. So you're going to start at the top. You're going to keep going down. And then don't forget you have your zipper here. So go slow. Use your zipper foot if you need to. Keep going all the way down. And then all the way down, down, down. And then you are going to stop right here, right before you get to the center boning pieces, and then leave a gap because we have to turn the garment over, and then start again, and then same thing on the other side, and same thing on the other side. Keep going, keep going, keep going up, and then all the way to the top. So go ahead and do that again. 5/8 inch seam allowance. Go slow. It's not a hurry. Once we are done doing that, we are going to go ahead and turn this over. So hence why you need to leave some gaps and not stitch all the way through, because we have to turn this over. So the lining is inside, and you have your fabric and your finished lining on the outside. So go ahead and do that now. Take your time. Okay, we got all of that stitching done around, and we left some openings so we can turn this. But before you do, don't forget to cut your corners and make sure that you don't cut anywhere where you stitch. Just trim some things away all the way around, and then you are going to go ahead and turn it. So go ahead and do that now. All right, so we cut the seam allowance, and then I went ahead and turned our pattern between those shoulder openings. Don't worry when you do that. Boning is very flexible. It is almost like a zip tie. It feels like a zip tie, so you can really bend it and it will not snap, which is a nice thing. But once you do that, you give it a really good press. You are going to slip stitch this bottom piece. So you're gonna have to do that by hand. I'm sure if you wanted to, you could do it by machine, but since you've been working so hard on this pattern, I think at this point it just makes sense to just put an extra couple of more minutes and just get it done the right way, just so you don't have any ugly seams or anything like that. And then also here at the top, what you are going to do is you are going to stitch, your, like this. You are going to, there's notches in the lining, so you're going to find the lining notches. You're gonna pin it right there. Keep pinning all the way down. And then you are going to make sure it's all aligned, right? Again, mark those notches. So you're gonna stitch 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way across, and what's that's going to happen is going to close your it's going to close your shoulder. So I went ahead and stitched my shoulders, and all I have to do now is just slip stitch and give my corset a really good press. Don't forget to slip stitch down here in your other shoulder, and then you are all done. I hope you enjoyed this sew along. Please leave me any questions or comments below, and I will see you next time. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that sew along. Please don't forget to visit us at Instagram at masondesignbuild, and visit our website at masondesignbuild.com for pattern reviews and also links to our video. Thanks again, and we will see you next time.